for game two. Let's see if Georgia Tech switches up the bans this game. Takes
Yeah,
away the
welcome.
Gragas, which was a really powerful pick.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody. I mean, I would assume two bands stay the same, of course, being Zeri Sejuani, because they saw what happened with the Horn. You don't want to see what happens when his actual band comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would assume now they flex that third band instead, being something like
I,
Gragas or something.
I think it has to be a Thresh ban, if I'm being
I
honest.
was gonna say,
Especially
Has to
if
be.
Georgia Tech wants to opt into hard engaged champions. You cannot leave Thresh open on this patch. He received a lot of buffs to his hook cooldown, I believe, and maybe a bit on his lantern, but he's just
Yeah.
so strong right now. Reddit Queen loves to play Thresh as well, so leaving that champ open and drafting hard engage is really not ideal, I think. So I want to see that change.
yeah. Also, especially if you're continuing to try to opt into Xayah Rakan, I mean that lane almost. I mean, I don't want to say feels unplayable, but definitely does not feel great. Xayah is permanently outranged by the Jinx. Rakan can just get interrupted by Flay or hit by the Thresh Q at any point. I mean, it's just not a pretty lane.
And
See NC State opting for that same strategy,
yeah,
protecting bog timer top lane.
I
That's how
mean,
they do it, I guess.
NC State is really happy with how that game went, right? Like they got the draft they
Yeah.
wanted, they played macro out the exact way they wanted to, and we see Georgia Tech going for another Nami ban. So we'll have to see
Wow.
if maybe they're thinking they just first pick Thresh.
NC
But
State banning Seraphine. That's
Seraphine.
really interesting.
yeah,
I
important
guess
to
we just
note.
want to.
Yeah, important to note. NC State has their original mid laner back.
Yeah.
So Pessoa is
Not
not
a
playing.
Seraphine player.
Yes.
Yeah. It just feels like if you are able to land that Thresh, that Seraphine wouldn't be too much of a priority. But like you said, if they're able to get on the Thresh somehow, maybe. But that's too much resources. NC State
like-
gonna pick up the Thresh for Widow Queen.
I like this adaptation from Georgia Tech hitting the first pick on Gragas Flex because Iron Tissue, of course, showing that he played Cho'Gath last game.
Yeah.
Things like the Ken and mid shows that they should both have a fairly deep enough champion pool to be able to flex that, both
But,
top and mid.
Bob Timer Diff's Lee Sin is Korean, to say the least. It is very good.
Yeah.
And I think is very good against a Gragas, in my opinion.
I
Able
was
to essentially serve the same purpose, peeling the ADC and engaging.
Yeah, I was watching a scrim set that State was playing, and Bob Timer Diff admitted Lee Sin is not a good pick into Gragas. He said you really get countered because when you want to try and queue in, Gragas
It is
always
easier.
beats you with body slam. So I think this is honestly just NC State saying we think we are just better than you, and we think we can play a matchup Lee Sin Gragas and just have better hands and better team play and just beat you, even in a negative matchup.
Not even just that, but I mean, always going back to comfort is a good idea, even if it's a slightly negative matchup. Especially in the jungle, is at this point there's not as much jungle one-on-one interaction. Most of it's going to be centered around bot lane for the moment. So essentially, Lee Sin being able to get a key right now, and one of the other options being Jinx or somebody else could be a great one. I like the Morgana adaptation.
Yeah, the Black Shield
Georgia
is going to
State.
be very, very good here against the Thresh. Great pickup for Georgia.
The Oxshot
fast enough.
hover.
If you have
And-
fast enough hands, it's also going to be a good adaptation around Lee Sin, as it can eat the kick and make it not move. The action genuine lock-in. That is an interesting
I
one
am
for me.
here for it. Okay, if we already thought that
Wow.
Bob Timer Diff picking Lee Sin was just I'm better than you, I'm gonna play Lee into Gragas. The Akshan lock-in is like the ultimate flex. You know, Jason,
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, plays Akshan jungle and high GM low challenger elo. He has also played at ADC. I do believe their mid laner also has a few games on it, so technically it is a flex, and we're not 100% certain it is going
is
to the
gonna
bot
be
lane,
Jason.
but
It is
it's like
gonna be
it's like
Jason.
a 98% chance. And if we do see that, it's gonna be super exciting. I will say I feel like Jinx Morgana surely beats Akshan Thresh in lane. Like I don't really see how Akshan touches Jinx, but it is
No.
Jason. It's his specialty, so if there's anyone who can do it, it's him. But
Yeah,
it's going to
Akshan-
be a spicy one for sure.
Actually, being permanently outranged, Morgana being able to black shield off of the Thresh engage to pull that Jinx anywhere closer is definitely not a favorable one for the
No,
action.
not at
Maybe
all.
with some classic jungle intervention, we could see the action snowball.
And
I'd
I'm
also
here
like to
for
see
it, yeah.
I'd also like to see a high damage mid laner out of NC State. As Akshan, a lot of the time, most of his damage can be rooted in getting stacked up kill wise, getting gold. So if you're
Yeah.
already playing a losing lane, I'd like to see a double threat come out, something like a Cassio or
Yeah. And they will. They'll be able to pick much more confidently here mid lane with their starter back. And NC State might be getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Last game, admittedly, not too close, but a couple different flashes here saved ours there for Georgia Tech, and that game goes a totally different direction.
I've ah. Okay,
I
I
was
saw the
actually
Darius
Darius would
hover,
have been a fun pick.
and I was
I
gonna
like the
say that's
Darius
what
a
I
lot
want to
better than
see.
the Cho'Gath actually.
Like Cho'Gath wins the Scion lane, but again, I just don't think opting into a 5v5 against NC State is ever going to work. Like, from personal experience, State knows how to 5v5 so well, and if you opt into it, it's going to be much harder than trying to play for a side lane. So I think Darius would have been the better pick, but I think the Cho'Gath pick is Georgia Tech saying that they want another shot at just playing a standard game out. And we see Wukong coming in last pick. So Gragas
Yeah.
will be slotted into the mid lane, and we will know for sure where Akshan is going here. Okay, ADC as expected. So yeah, just
Jason can play Oriana, so
that is true. That is true.
Ori APC is possible, but yeah, I'm doubting it.
I definitely
Yeah.
don't mind the Oriana pick here, pairing it with the Lee Sin and the Thresh. Gives you pretty good ball placement as well. As well, it's a good disengage tool with the Wukong jumping onto Akshan, but a very strange draft playout with things like the Morgana and Akshan being brought out. Everything else pretty staple, relatively. Sion and Cho'Gath and pretty average. Wukong, Lee Sin, a match I've seen a lot. Gragas, Oriana is sometimes Gragas going to lose early, but should be able to sustain the damage with his passive heal up.
Yep. So
Just,
once again, just standard comps from both teams. Just straight up 5v5 around objectives again.
Almost standard.
Oh yeah. Other than the Akshan,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the Morg's also fairly unstandard at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. But as a counter to Thresh, I mean, your kind of way to play is set in stone. I mean, you're purely kind of a response champion to the Thresh play.
This is true, and I know it's a little more niche, but there's a certain point though if you're trying to respond to Thresh here and keep Jinx alive, especially with the current comp, things like Tom Kench could be looked at as possibly a little better, as Morgana unable to follow the dive of Gragas Wukong, really just going to be standing behind the Jinx, but Tom Kench offers the double up ability of being able to W under the Wukong knockup and sort of stuff.
And there was
Set
a few
CC.
times last game where Jason was a little bit alone, like where he was under tower, and the Kennen was able to chunk him. Maybe Georgia Tech picks the Morgana thinking, okay, well, if we can land a bind onto him, we can take him out without having to, dive or get peeled off. Which is a very fair point, but I think it's going to be much harder to get onto a Akshan than it will be a Jinx, especially when
Yes.
Jason knows how to use that W and that E very well.
And one thing to contrast from NC State's draft last game they had the Jinx, and while Gragas did get like really fed and he was doing so much damage, this comp from NC State has like the threat spread out a tiny bit more. Oriana provides a lot more consistent damage than a champ like Lissandra does, and Lee Sin loves to skirmish. So last game, it was sort of like, is Jinx alive? If so, we lose. If not, we win. But this game from Georgia Tech, it's like, okay, we can get the Akshan, but if Oriana is fed, she will be just as much of a threat. And if Lee Sin is fed, he will also be a huge threat. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on Georgia Tech to find a good angle. I want to see, again this game, good flanks from Wukong and Gragas. Again, I don't think walking into the face of Ori and Sion is going to work. Oriana can manipulate the ground with her ball and just zone control pretty much everyone on Georgia Tech's comp. So I want to see more flanks this game.
Yeah, the Wukong flank is going to be really key here. Obviously, you can Gragas cask from quite a distance, even if Ori's control maging you out of the picture. But it's going to really come down to the flanks, like you're talking about. And this game, they're playing a lot harder for the resets, too. I mean, if Jinx is able to get a reset, get black shielded, Wukong's backline, I mean, there's a really strong team fight opportunity here for Georgia Tech, but it's going to be really hard to beat NC State front to back, like you said. Interested to see the Sion show lane. Obviously, Scion's Q does get canceled immediately with the Cho silence, but if Bob Timer learns the timing of it, he can get the damage off to win this lane.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely like so much easier for Cho'Gath to play this lane. I think like the first few levels are kind of rough, but eventually
Yeah.
Cho'Gath kind of just hits the wave and he heals like all of Sion's poke damage. So
Yep.
it is like a better matchup I think for top than it was last game. But as we saw last game, Bob Timer's specialty is tanks, and he especially loves just tank matchups. He knows them
Yeah.
so well, and he's able to exploit mistakes. So I'm expecting him to be fine again this game.
It's like he's not playing Ornn this time, but he's just the Ornn R as Scion.
Yeah. Okay, and let me fix the score. Cool. And as we load in, I mean, I'm expecting a similar jungle pathing to last game when both junglers just path down, play for the bot fight. So expecting the same. I'm hoping that Bob Timer Diff properly takes 3 camps this game if he is planning to do a 3 camp. We
That
saw
would be
him.
very good.
Yeah,
That
we
would be
saw
very
him
good if he-
do Red Raptor
3
Wolves.
camps?
Yeah.
That doesn't give you level 3.
You either have to do all 3 of your top camps or all 3 of your bot camps, or do buff and then a big camp. So
Yeah.
well, we'll have to see if he remembers that this game.
That was interesting to see, certainly, because he lost the first dragon almost exclusively off that, because he had the tempo. He lost the tempo with bot line because he had to go back up to take his Krugs. The Morgana Q landing on the NC State mid laner here. Gonna hold his flash wisely as NC State's able to come through.
Yeah, not a big threat at the moment with Jinx still being a little far away, so not able to put in that damage in Gragas level 1. Not typically known for big damage, mostly just a CC bot with starting E.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would
GG1
like to see
just
NC
woke
State
up.
get a ward down though in this the lane. They had a lane ward last game that saved them from the Wukong lane gank at 3 minutes, but doesn't look like they're going to be able to get that down anytime soon. So as Wukong passed down, that might be something to watch for if they go for the lane gank again.
Yeah, I would assume possibly that Jason will just walk up and look for the immediate push to reset the lane with Akshan Q and everything. Having really good wave clear early game and maybe get a little bit of prio to get the ward later and have more protection. As you know, you're safe for the first up to about 315 to not get hit by that Wukong gank immediately. So far, just pretty staple laning. Akshan Q going on. Not hitting whole minion waves, so probably not what they're immediately looking for. Just a traditional sort of waited out.
Yeah.
Both try to hit level 2.
And yeah, it's going to be really hard to get level 2 first as Akshan versus Jinx. I mean, she's just going to rocket the back line. As top line trades grass procs once again.
Bob Timer also choosing the true Scion skin diff, one of the original favorites of the people.
Really interesting that Iron Tissue is opting in for these trades when he started Q. Typically, you want to
Yeah.
start Eon Cho'Gath because it does max health damage, but maybe because of Morgana root hit. Oh, nice hook.
Oh, wow. Even as he's binded, able to hit a hook, Jason and Redoquin. Jason flashes to secure the kill, levels up, ease out. Huge kill for NC State as Jinx did flash there and Morgana healed.
I mean,
And as you said, those top trades not paying off right now as he didn't take E level 1, and trading those grass procs really did hurt him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you talked about before in the prior game, Akshan into Jinx genuinely looks on paper to be an unplayable matchup, but if anybody's going to be able to make it work, it's going to be Jason. And
It's going to be Jason.
being
Yeah.
able to look through it. So knowing their
Unbelievable
synergy,
hook
Jason
there.
getting to it immediately,
Yeah.
grappling around, doing his best Spider-Man cosplay.
And that just proves Rami's point a little bit harder as we see a little action here mid lane, no sums being used. Yeah, the Thresh has to be banned out. I mean, Redoquin is just not missing, and you can't just leave it open and expect him to miss, especially when you're going to pick something like Jinx Morgana bot lane with 0 mobility. Even if you have the Black Shield, one of you doesn't have it. One of you is going to get hit by the hook.
Yeah, I think that was just disrespect of the level 2 timer. I think it's pretty clear NC State is hitting level 2 there first. But Georgia Tech bot lane didn't really respect it, and they just got caught for free.
One thing to note,
See,
3 minutes in.
Hits the hook, throws the lantern. Jason still eases in, however. Everyone survives there, but flash down for Gragas.
Yeah, one big thing to note here is with only being 4 minutes in here, really only one kill sided, but just off of CS different lane pressure alone, NC State already up 1,000 gold.
Yep.
With the 12 CS lead showing in the jungle, Lee Sin keeping a lot of that gold at the moment.
Yeah,
and
that
Akshan
happened
keeping the other half.
last game as well. Even though he kind of messed up his 3 camp, not kind of, he did. He was able to be 2 camps up on first recall, which is extremely, extremely rare to see.
Wouldn't it be kind of a good wave setup here for the Scion, being able to hold it here as Cho'Gath pushes in? A lot easier to freeze than most with Scion W being up so frequently and being a large shield so early in the game.
See, Bob Timer, like I said, learning that timing on Iron Tissue's silence, gonna be able to get that damage out no matter what. Forcing the flash out from Cho'Gath, still has Q here, Lee Sin, and Lee Sin secures the kill on Cho'Gath despite the flash. Really well played there from Bob Timer to hold his Q and then let it go just before the silence. As we see a hook landing mid lane, Jason Eing in, the Flay going down, flash at a Morgana.
Jinx Trap's opening up just at the perfect time there. I mean, if it didn't open up the snare, I think that's a kill for the
I think if Jason is just like 1 year younger, he clicks forward there and he dodges the trap and he gets a kill, but he's getting old. It's okay.
Yeah. Lee Sin's still top lane, getting damage here onto the Cho'Gath.
Break the Cho'Gath freeze, almost looking towards a kill. Scion Q getting interrupted there. Wukong walking up looking for a kill on the Scion.
Yeah, surely won't have enough damage. Full charge Q coming through. Really good Q here, or from the Cho'Gath.
Kind of a fiesta happening here in the top lane with both players being really low, possibly looking to go in on this.
I mean, QE gets the double kill
no,
here,
it's a
and
disaster.
There it is. Sion's gonna die here, but like Baus says, this is good death.
I mean, it is.
This is a really good death. He's not gonna get the plate, so he. Yeah, Lee Sin should be able to secure it though for him. Exactly. A lot of gold on to Lee Sin here, as he already has 2 kills and a plate.
And I mean, the biggest thing is the wave. The wave that is lost for Iron Tissue. I think it was a cannon wave and 2 normal waves is what he ends up missing. So not only is he down 10 CS, but he's down XP. As we see, Bob Timer is looking for a Scion ult bot lane. There is no flash on Jinx, no flash on Morgana. Their wave is coming into NC State. I really like this play.
Yep, and we see the unstoppable onslaught coming out. Gonna go wide, but still get the slow off. Full charge Q gonna go down. Jason gonna secure the kill onto Glory here as he ease in with the Scion. Really good play. And as we see, Bob Timer had TP. He's not gonna lose anything for this at all, and probably some plates here for NC State.
Yeah, overall, one thing to note about that setup is that you saw shortly before the Thresh making the roam up, knowing Jason comfortable in the action and easy to survive, can clear the wave, wait a second, kind of giving that Jinx the false sense of security that they're fine to stay in the 1v1. And then they hear the audio notification for the Scion ult going off, but they expect it's just a top lane to save TP, not expecting it to come straight for the Jinx.
Exactly. As we see top lane trading here, a lot of damage coming out from Cho'Gath, but Lee Sin here, R's backwards, full charge, Scion Q, Iron Spike whip into the W pop for a kill. No TP here.
Oh my gosh.
As we know, Sion's going to shove this wave, and that's going to be 4 waves down for this Cho'Gath, 2 of them being cannons.
Yeah.
Lantern for safety here, Orianna, but not going to take it, just going to decide to damage. Oh, look, barely missing, but Jason hits the perfect E right into the enemy team. Doesn't matter. Orianna R comes in to secure it. E a little bit short here from Akshan. Not going to get anything, as NC State just looking to enforce their lead much earlier than they did last game. 7-1 score, 5k gold about. Counter jungling here for Bob Timer diff.
Mechanically feels like a small error there on the Gragas, as you saw the Gragas ult just end up pushing really just a nothing target there into the wall, unable to actually save.
If he gets the Akshan backwards there, maybe they get the kill out of it, but Bob Timer diff.
He's level 6.
Yeah, the E shows you Wukong when he's invisible. And if he lands one more
Q, the
he's
fadeaway.
dead. Yeah, but we have NC State here to match the Gragas pathing. Blast cone into the full charge Scion Q, into the Lee Sin Q. Bob Timer able to eat all the damage. He flashes to miss though. Cho'Gath are going down to kill the Lee Sin. Shutdown go onto a Cho'Gath once again for Georgia Tech.
Thresh is here.
Jon flashes over the wall, but he wants to stay in this fight since Gragas is there, but Greed's a little bit too hard. Morgana Q going to be able to secure the kill here for Georgia Tech. A bit of a greedy play there for NC State.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
definitely a little deep. One thing to note is that I think GG1 actually was not by choice staying in there. Finally, we were missing it last game. Finally, the sport was able to do it, dropping a control ward on the thresh lane, so he's unable to get out.
yeah. I mean, good punish from Georgia Tech. They recognize, yes, they're behind, but NC State is really, really overstepping. They had no Shockwave from Orianna. They had no Scion ult. Lee Sin, I'm not sure when he used his kick, but I'm assuming it was up for that fight. But after Wukong fell, they were kind of just overextended, and Morgana was first to the play, so it gave them a numbers advantage. And now, Iron Tissue, after missing all of those waves, I think he collected 2 shutdowns. So yeah, he's even in gold, even though he missed all of those waves. He got a shutdown on Lee Sin as well as Scion, so that's a total of, I think, 1.5k gold there.
Yeah, big note for that is strictly that it's just catch up. I mean, prior to that, it was behind the Scion a lot, and also the fact that those shutdowns went onto the Cho'Gath instead of one of your damage characters, similar to Gragas or Wukong, means that they're still lacking the damage department overall for Georgia Tech trying to kill this NC State tank and the Scion.
See, Georgia Tech going onto the Dragon here with the tempo resets off that team fight. NC State, though, going signature, going for that Rift Herald as Jason has his Kraken Slayer. Invisible in the bush, goes for the E on Glory, but gonna have to flash out. This guy is scripting, walks backwards out of the Morgana Q, and dodges the Jinx W. That forces them to fall out of the Dragon Pit here.
Yeah.
NC State able to rotate down in time and take the Dragon. Somehow, I mean, you think Georgia Tech, they have to stay on the Dragon there, right? I mean, I don't think chasing Jason there is a good play.
Yeah,
no, definitely a bad play there, especially with the
the hook from Wedrican. The Orianna are not able to do enough damage. Shockwave comes out. Redicon able to secure a kill on Wukong. A whole lot of summoners. Not enough power on that Akshan R, but the dive going to come out here and kill the Orianna. And on top of that, they secure Dragon. They're going to be able to get a lot of plates here, as it's only 11 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a masterclass from NC State there with seeing that Georgia Tech overcommitting 3 into the bot lane to chase down Jason being able to maneuver out of it, and then just immediately taking full control of the Dragon Pit, clearing the wards and starting up the Dragon, sort of baiting them to come back and try to play for the steal.
Yeah, it's just a Jason special. I mean, the guy's just so mechanically good. He can fix any mistake, so to speak.
yeah. And if we look at the gold distribution here, jungle is up, what is that, 2k gold.
2k.
Mid lane is up 1k. Bot lane is up almost 2k.
2k.
So
yeah.
the gold lead is large on the scoreboard, right? But when you think about it, the area that the gold difference is in is even more important. The fact that your carries, Akshan, Orianna, and your skirmisher in Lee Sin, all of those 3 champs being ahead is all you care about. If Scion was down like 4k gold, you literally could not care any less. But NC State has the gold in the right places. They have their item spikes. Bomba, though.
Ooh, Bomba from Gragas after the body slam. Orianna are not able to save her, and she's going to go down. Shut down onto Wukong here. Not enough to close the 30 CS gold gap, but something to note. Lee Sin's still holding on to the Herald here. Gonna have to drop it relatively soon, it looks like. Maybe not, as Jason, once again invisible, gets some damage off onto targets. Really aggressive play here from Bob Timer Diff. Doesn't have the ability to W out. Flash R's, and he's going to go down as well to the mid laner here. So some good plays coming out from Georgia Tech. As you said, it matters who the gold goes onto, and Wukong and Gragas is who Georgia Tech wants that gold onto if it's not Jinx.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia Tech is doing really well to punish the overextensions from State. I think State is super far ahead, but they are playing disrespectfully. So I think it's good from Georgia Tech to be punishing these mistakes. State is strong, but they need to make sure they're fighting around their strengths. You know, like Orianna does not really want to be in the face of champions like Gragas and Wukong, especially with no flash. Oh no. Oh, just press W. Oh
yeah,
no.
And he doesn't clone in front of the Scion R. Something to note, the build has changed from Cho'Gath here. Jack Show, not a terrible build for Cho'Gath, but Heartsteel just is so much better, scales so much more efficiently. As we see Rift going down here for NC State, they're going to be able to possibly take this tower. Not enough damage, most likely.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to note from that last fight when Lee Sin died, was the Herald being stuck on him sort of prevents him from doing the ward hop out. So
Yeah.
adding an extra layer of just a little bit of maybe a small misstep, looking to try and get it on Oriana or Scion possibly instead if you could, but.
And we see a really big vision gap here on the bot side for Georgia Tech. I mean, they have no wards in the river at all. They're really blind when it comes to making any sort of play onto Jason, especially since Jason is Wing up and down the walls and just hitting damage on whoever he wants, whenever he wants, because they're not seeing him. And bot time are getting a little bit low here topside. Like you said, Romy, I mean, Scion loses this matchup pretty hard as Cho'Gath gets levels.
Yeah, Scion has max health damage. He does have Heartsteel, whereas Bob Timer went for a Bombies first into a Mythic, so he has
standard for Scion.
Yeah, it is standard for sure. It's just Cho is able to do a lot more damage when they're just autoing each other. And he is stacking. He already has 120 bonus health from Heartsteel. His passive stacks on ult are at 4 already, so and it's about to ding his 5th stack on this wave. So he's in a pretty good spot, honestly, but it is Cho'Gath, so we'll have to see how much it does matter later in the game.
Big hook here from Redukin. Not enough damage coming out. Lee Sin Q does hit. Tower's going to go down. He might want to pull through on that Q. Don't think he saw that. Jason going to E in. Flash and Q. Enough damage. Procs to Akshan passive.
Yeah, I mean,
really strong play there from Jason.
We talked about it in the pregame, but Akshan, although not a traditional pick, something that Jason is really comfortable in, even taking it into the jungle and everything. So you can show, it shows there how comfortable he is with those damage numbers.
-1.
Players going for the immediately auto Q combo.
I mean, Glory 040 down 30 CS, not where you want to be in this comp. You need your Jinx to be fed. Because, like last game, we saw Gragas does provide a lot of damage, but this mid lane Gragas is opting for Phase Rush and Rod of the Ages, as opposed to Dark Harvest and Night Harvester. So there's a lot less of that burst damage and a lot more reliance on Jinx to be fed and do enough damage, but she is super behind.
A very interesting rune pick for mid lane Gragas. As I understand it, Phase Rush is almost primarily top lane Gragas.
Yeah.
And Georgia Tech able to snuff out the reset here off the Dragon that's been taken from NC State. They're going to try and secure this Rift Herald before them. Bob Timer able to get vision on it, but he might get picked off here. Gets body slammed, knocked up, Heartsteel proc, full cask of Gragas hits, but a tank will be a tank. He doesn't take any damage. Rift Herald going on to Georgia Tech. Unstoppable Onslaught coming in here. Gets to the back line. Jason Invisible able to hit the Cho'Gath a few times rather. Iron Tissue able to kill the Oriana. He's on a killing spree. Akshan E's in. Gore Drinker comes out from the Lee Sin as he Q's in. Thresh hits look on the clone, however, and NC State just imposing their will a little bit here.
Yeah, but important to note, Glory is just free pushing bot. Like we saw last game when State went up for Herald, he was able to get a plate, but this time around, it looks like he's going to get the whole tower. So yeah, he gets a tower. Jason loses, I would say, maybe a wave died to that tower there. So not the worst for Georgia Tech at all. When you're behind, you really want to be taking even trades because even trades get you back into the game. So they trade 1-for-1 and they get a tower. So really good for them, honestly.
And Rift Herald onto the Wukong. I mean, now you can fix that gold distribution issue you had. I mean, you can. It looks like they're aiming to Rift here mid, and one big thing to note: objective bounties are up. So not only are they going to get gold strictly onto their carries here, but as the tower doesn't fall, Insight coming out here. Oriana R, not enough damage anywhere on the side of NC State. Cass comes out into the Morgana R. Oh, and the Bob Timer diff Gore Drinker kill. Sion gets soloed by the Cho'Gath. Double kill here for Bob Timer diff as he ward hops into the E. Really well played here from the NC State mid-jungle duo.
Well, we'll go back and watch each one because there's a lot going on there.
I was calling 2 fights at once.
Getting a kill on a previously unkilled Gragas is also big here. Sort of setting that tempo back, as we said, getting some momentum swung back to the NC State side as these fights are going a little more even recently. But
yeah, and it just looks like he just got knocked up into hit, knocked up and hit, and that true damage, he's able to eat him at the end, and that's that.
I mean, that's a Cho'Gath damage against a tank. It's just so nice for Cho'Gath. And now we'll look at the mid lane play.
I mean, that's why they wanted to pick this last game, but here we go. And the Insect into the Oriana R. 3, or 2 rather, was one of the
Oh, the
Cho'Gath.
CLOL.
Yeah. As he jukes the Morgana Q really well there.
Really well
Quick
played.
flash, yeah, quick flash from the Morgana there.
Yeah, good
To
flash
it.
from Morgana there immediately after his Lee Sin had already diverted his attention to just go straight for Gragas, which is a
Yeah.
good pick overall, I think, with Morgana already sitting at an 0-2 score lines. The gold being a little less efficient to get us from the Gragas. Looking like they got a kill on the Morg later on.
Yeah.
Just trying to catch up to live, but not miss anything here.
Yeah, hook from Redukin. Guess what? He hits it.
Yep.
Another kill going on to Jason. Jason is looking extremely, extremely ahead this game, extremely strong, as NC State is sieging on this second tier mid tower.
Yeah, just a textbook pick there with Thresh Hook into Akshan combo.
Yeah.
And Morgana is, like, in theory, a good pick against Thresh because you can be black shielding the hook, but if you don't have vision and you're trying to contest and Thresh is able to just sit in a bush, then you don't really have time to react to the hook out of vision and you just get caught.
Yeah. And as strong as Cho'Gath is, Akshana is going to be able to mount him really hard, especially as he's able to proc his passive dirty fighting. But Georgia Tech going really hard here for Bob Timer. Morgana are coming out, able to ward hop out of his Bob Timer diff. A lot
Oh, no, that
used here for Georgia Tech.
Looking dire for him.
Cho'Gath, the bit of a TP flank, trying to catch up this Lee Sin. Procs the Heart Steal on Orianna. Cho'Gath Q's back, or not Cho'Gath, Lee Sin Q's back in, but Gragas Blast Cone's over, so the Q takes him nowhere. Maybe he gets a silence, so he can't get a Gourd Drinker off. Unfortunate. He gets picked out.
And we're starting to see the struggles of playing Lee Sin into champions like Gragas and Wukong.
Yep.
Like, he has a Q, he wants to take it, fly in. Oh, big binding.
Big binding. The R buys him a bit of time into the unstoppable onslaught from Sion. Double charge, full Q. Gets the
Jason's
kill
putting out big
on
damage on the
to
backside.
Glory. Jason able to get the kill on Wukong. Dragon is up here. And that champion is balanced. Revives the Lee Sin.
And immediately
Now,
on Dragon,
in all
Lee Sin revives.
honesty, NC State could walk up. Yep, they're pinging Dragon. They can take Dragon right now.
There's even a little
no
bit of
need
swap
to take
there
Drake.
towards Baron with a few pings going off.
Or take Baron, rather. Yeah. Take Baron.
Unironically,
So far.
at this point in the game, Georgia Tech's carry is Iron Tissue. Like, he is so tanky, he actually provides so much damage with his ult. It's honestly like a guaranteed more than half health execute on the Akshan or the Orianna, so I think not...
Oh, there it is.
There it is. There it is.
Jason's Akshan jungle. I don't know how this has not been patched in over a year. That is so unfair.
It is. But yeah, I think Georgia Tech has to fight with the Cho'Gath. It's their only way to actually secure a kill, I think. So
Yeah.
they had a good
I mean,
initial
that's-
play, but they really overstayed.
I have to be honest, that's the first time I have seen that in so long.
Yeah, and then just Sion flashes onto the Jinx, gets the kill. NC State sandwiching here a bit, but they're able to, Georgia Tech's able to stand here around the Cho'Gath, but they do get hit by the fully charged Sion Q. Dawn able to get out of the fight safely. We see Jason eats a full Gragas cast, doesn't die, pulls up the comeuppance on Iron Tissue. Iron Tissue standing in the minion wave, doesn't eat any of it, but Bob Timer Diff still on him, dodges the Q, misses his own Q, but likely able to finish off the kill with Bob Timer.
Yeah, shows as you
3-0
said.
here for NC State.
So as you said for Georgia Tech, they need to just be dogpiling, helping out the Cho'Gath, as he is their carry. He did all of the damage there to start off.
But that's
from the GD1.
where the beauty of this Orianna pick comes in. As soon as they're all standing on top of him, they just get Orianna Ard.
Looking to back off, not committing fully to getting the inhib turret here, looking to get a reset, go towards Dragon, and then maybe restart here, put him on Soul Point, and look to, if not ending now, set up for a after Soul, after Baron win closer to 28-30 minute mark.
Ooh, and mispredicting the tempo there from NC State. Jinx fires her rocket far too early. Unlikely to steal it anyway, but just something to note. Unable to predict the tempo here for NC State.
Yeah, one big thing here this game that I've seen so far is, of course, Jinx getting put so far behind, so they're heavily lacking in damage, but the Wukong also getting put behind, so he's missing on almost all of his survivability at the moment, not even having the Black Cleaver done to keep any sort of semblance of staying alive, and nowhere near getting to the point that he can have his Guardian Angel to get those engages.
Interesting build here from Jason as he finishes both Bork and LDR. Shows a lot of emphasis to kill that Cho'Gath as Redukin binded once again, still hits his hook, come up and it's coming out. All the bullets hitting the Cho'Gath, and Cho'Gath is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He goes down.
I mean, there are those items.
I mean, that build from Jason just absolutely destroying the Cho'Gath health bar.
Yeah, no, like we said, really smart itemization here because Cho'Gath is the carry at the moment. If Cho'Gath dies, there's no damage left over for Georgia Tech. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Jinx isn't even on her second item yet. I mean,
yeah, I mean, just compare the damage from Jinx onto Sion compared to Akshan onto Cho. And as we see, they're looking really hard.
Flash E in from Wukong, but just gets kited out by the Orianna Akshan combo.
One thing that I do want to commend Georgia Tech with is that they're not playing to not lose. They're still actively going for the plays here. Although just due to wallet diff, there's not much to be gotten out of them at times. With Akshan almost one tapping anybody on the team at this point. Cho'Gath looking for the TP flank.
Huge TP flank. Doesn't know which way he wants to go. Unstoppable Onslaught. We got both top laners flanking here, but one top laner is flanking a basically full build Akshan, and he's gonna die for it. Sion missing about 2,000 HP from it, and gonna be able to proc that Heartsteel, kills the Gragas. Bob Timer diffs in the back line, soloing everyone. Ward hop into Q, into auto, come up and is able to secure the kill in the fountain on the Morgana, and that is 5-0 for NC State. And they're gonna look here to end. Baron's worn out, but it doesn't matter. No one here to defend. That's gonna be 2-0 NC State.
Just another beautiful game. Like I
mean,
you go first.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, talking over each other. A little bit cluttered today, but you know, love having everybody here. I would say one really big thing there is just a really clean game. Akshan showing confidence in his own abilities in the champ. Sion being able to play the tank v tank, just don't die matchup, even if it's a counter. And I mean, Lee Sin getting constant plays down towards bot lane. Orianna surviving out through the multiple Wukong ganks coming in, and then, like we said, NC State team fighting team.
Yeah, I mean, yet again, NC State got everything they wanted in the draft. They got everything they wanted and how the game played out. What I really, really, really hope to see in Game 3 is Georgia Tech going for a different strategy. You've done this 2 games in a row where you're putting your top laner who loves to play like skirmish fighting top laners onto a tank and just opting into a 5v5 game. I really don't think they can win a Game 3 when they're down 0-2 if they play it the exact same way that they've been playing the first 2 games. So I really want them to see if they do a different strategy, go for something new in draft. Please, for the love of God, ban Thresh. Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just please ban
and if you're not going to ban Thresh, do not pick Jinx and Morgana. Pick an Ezreal. Something super, super safe.
Pick an Ezreal, pick a Sivir, pick anything with a dash, anything with movement.
Anything to get away from Redukin. And that'd be interesting. If they pick safe, they can kind of reverse their pathing that they've had this past 2 games. I mean, the jungler can actually go top, play for the skirmishing top laner, like you were saying, Romy. I mean, they definitely do have to change something up, and you would think it has to be what they're doing bot side.
Yeah.
And jungle.
Yeah, I mean, they're just playing a little too slow still. I mean, they're picking these comps with. I mean, that game still looks like a team fight comp with Wukong and then a Jinx. You'd almost want them to just go into a full dive comp, looking at something like Samira Nautilus in the bot lane to try and go in.
And that's been the thing. It's they're inconsistent with those bot picks. I mean, last game the Rakan Zaya. I understand that you got Rakan, but maybe something a bit more aggressive than the Zaya. Maybe a Samira that can follow in with your Wukong and all that. But definitely, everyone's right here. Something has to change here for Georgia Tech because the draft issue, while it's been minimal, is making it really hard for them to execute whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, for them to make this reverse sweep happen, they have to try something new. Like, there's no way you can go into this Game 3 thinking, we're going to do the exact same thing we have done for the past 2 games, and it's going to work. So I really just want to see Georgia Tech try something new. I don't really care what it is. It just needs to be different.
There was a little more chance there as that game as they were able to get some kills, but I mean, genuinely, I mean, I don't love to say it, but it was due to the way that NC State was playing. It wasn't due to any sort of outplay on the side of Georgia Tech. One thing I'd really like to see is that game they're engaged as their gameplay together felt a little disjointed, not having a clean cut or clear engage pattern other than hoping for a Gragas or a Wukong flank. Whereas at least game 1 they had a very clear cut way to engage with Ken and Rakan. If they could do something like that, looking into something like J4 Galio or something like that, although I know Camila's banned every game. Something like a J4 Galio or some sort of really, really clean cut engage so that they can try to get on Jason, kill him quick, and then go from there.
But definitely want to stop seeing tanks on the top side here for Georgia Tech. I mean, their top lane is a Fiora, Darius player, Camille as well. I mean, one of those is going to be open. I would like to see Georgia Tech flip the map, play for top side, take Bob Timer out of the game because it just doesn't seem like anybody going to be able to take Reduquin or Jason out.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to see something like the Darius. They were hovering it in the last game. I just want to see them pick it. Just go for it.
And Bob Timer's good, but I mean Darius has enough damage to kill you twice, and one tiny misstep from Bob Timer, and that's a solo. You know, that takes away the ability from NC State to pressure these Rift Heralds because they're almost exclusively getting them because Bob Timer is so tanky when 5 people walk up. If there's a Darius threat there looming, then NC State loses that ability to get the double rifts. You know, so
Yeah, an adaptation I'd really like to see, as we know, Camille Fiora Gwen banned every game, but they're still leaving up things which it's a little more niche, but something like the Yone offering mixed damage into a top lane. If he chooses to pick that same Ornn or Scion, you can outplay. There's a little bit of outplayability with Yone as long as you play the lane right and don't run it at the tower.
So yeah, we're gonna wait a few minutes. And when the next game starts draft, we will be back. So stay right there. All right, welcome back. And we are going to have a side swap, so bear with us while we get these logos swapped around. But Georgia Tech has selected red side for Game 3, so I think they agree with us that something needs to change, and they are starting that off by changing the side they're on.
Side swapping is an adaptation that I actually really like here because, as we said, we need some way for them to shut down Bob Timer. So we need a guaranteed counter pick for either that or, now that there's no substitute mid lane, or a guaranteed substitute or a guaranteed counter pick for mid. It seems like, honestly, something that I would like is to dip even further. I don't know if their Georgia Tech mid laner plays anything like this, but dipping into a champion pool such as like Twisted Fate or something, where as soon as it's hit 6, you're constantly Twisted Fate, Talia, Galio. Get on something that you can just try to essentially force Jason out, because it seems like if you're not throwing the kitchen sink bot right now, this current game plan where you sort of half dedicate your resources there just is not going to work out.
Yeah, and we'll see what this last ban is. Okay, they did Thresh.
They've done it.
And they've gone red side. So they've checked 2 boxes.
As long as NC State doesn't show their hand here, they could still just go Lucian Nami as they pick the Gragas, or are hovering it rather.
Yeah, I was going to say Gragas Flex first pick. Absolutely what I love. Seems like a natural champ for Bob Timer top if he has to. Bob Timer did already showing that he is incredibly
more than
proficient
on it. Yeah, more than proficient.
Yeah, actually, this is actually the extra swapper. Now that Thresh is gone, they can flex the Gragas into support Gragas bot.
We'll have to see the answer from Georgia Tech. I'm wondering if they do want to opt into Lucian Nami. And wow.
What?
Okay, I mean, I guess we're picking Lee Sin into Gragas today. Okay.
So, yeah, Bob Timer diff probably signaling here, at least just due to what I would call a blunder from Georgia Tech. Is Bob Timer just going to send the Gragas to Bob Timer diff, get a traditional tank top as before? Tristana is an interesting change over something really aggressive, showing that Georgia Tech's looking to, again, put more pressure on Jason bot lane, but I don't know if Tristana is going to be the one at the moment, as not particularly the strongest champion on the patch, although still a staple ADC for most.
Yeah, and technically this could be a mid lane flex if they want to send Tristana mid, especially if they want to play like a Veigar bot lane, if they really wanted to switch it up. Weak side the Veigar, play top side, but Lucian Nami for NC State. This is something Georgia Tech has been banning every game so far this set, and NC State finally has their hands on it, so I'm expecting a lot of power to come through from the spot lane.
Yeah, no, I mean, a huge power pick in the Lucian Nami, as I talked about a little bit in our break, but Jason's super comfortable on the Lucian, one of his main picks. Picking Nautilus here as a counter to the Nami is a good one for being aggressive, but definitely signals that possibly not a Veigar bot, as Nautilus Veigar not super common, but still possible. Nautilus Tristana very common, but I would still probably overall prefer the Tristana mid lane, or keeping it as a flex till last pick.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Georgia Tech bans here. They do decide to take away Bob Timer's Ornn.
I wouldn't be surprised if the third ban is just a Scion, because they don't seem to have a great read due to the mid lane swapping of NC State.
Yeah, the problem is if you ban away Scion, then Bob Timer can play Cassante, and it's pretty proficient.
That is an unfortunate one for them to look towards. But if he picks Cassante, again, don't know the champion pools of all the Georgia Tech players, but you can always grab something like a Jax to try and go even.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see out of Georgia Tech here is a Jax pick. I mean, they want to play topside eventually one of these games, and Jax offers you a lot of gank ability. Who knows? And a lot of prio, but we'll see here who they ban might give us a better sign. Scion.
It is going to be a Scion ban. So, as you said, we would expect to see a Cassante pick out of NC State for Bob Timer, and then we're going to have counter pick 5 for Georgia Tech, probably looking to, I would assume, counter pick Bob Timer with all of these targeted bans.
But here's the thing with the Gragas pick is Bob Timer can play Gragas. Yeah. So
Gragas top phase rush operates almost the same as Scion. Super survivable, really tanky.
The Nyla ban. NC State snuffs out that Tristana's might be flexed mid, so they redirect another ban bot. Nyla is really strong into Lucian Nami, so it makes a lot of sense.
Also strong with Nautilus. I mean, having double dive with not Q into Nyla Q ult is just a really potent combo, and of course being able to nullify the magic damage off Nami and any auto attack to proc the Nami E on Lucian is, and as I said before, Samira looking for the heavy dive.
Yeah, I mean, this is the pick they should have been going with, is the Samira AD both games with the comp they were picking. That does confirm it's going to be a Tristana mid. Interesting interested to see here how NC State responds to a pick like that.
It could be low-key Malphite might. It's really hard to blind pick Malphite, but with all of these champs banned, I could see Bob Timer opting in for it. He really enjoys Malphite, and if you look at these champs from Georgia Tech, Tristana, Samira, Lee Sin, all are physical damage. This Rumble
I
is a
think
fake hover, unless it's
an
Froggy.
issue with the
Yeah.
Malphite is, like you said, it's really dangerous top, and it seems that they're signaling that Georgia Tech is a carry top laner player, and Malphite can just get rolled if he ends up in a bad matchup.
Yeah. Cassante also really good at just building armor and stacking it, especially into short range champs like Samira and Lee Sin and Nautilus. Honestly, Cassante does a really good job at denying those. And one big difference in this comp from last game is, game one, I guess, is usually we see State having a very long ranged ADC with a peeling support where it's like, okay, we can just sit back and let Jason free hit, but with the Lucian Nami, State is looking to fight a lot more aggressively. So instead of just playing range and counter engage, this game they're looking to like dash in with Lucian, go for poke, look for Gragas plays, Annie flash stuns, etc. So I want to see a more accelerated early game from NC State this game because they have a much stronger bot lane in the first 10 minutes.
I really like this. We talked all about adaptation out of Georgia Tech. Is that they need something, and they took it and ran. I mean, this is a textbook dive comp. You just smash the R buttons under Nautilus Malphite. Both Samir and Tristana jump in as close as they can with Lee Sin going either insec or just output with Q being execute damage. It's just exactly what we were looking for, and I think almost I wouldn't exactly say favorite, but definitely helpful with a lot of the damage in NC State being loaded onto that Lucian. Malphite ult still having a large radius, so hard to dash out through Lucian E.
Yeah, I mean, signs of life for Georgia Tech in this draft. Like we said, they're doing something different, so they have not given up hope. They're not just doing a salty run back where it's like, all right, let us just lose in peace. They really want to win this game, and they want to make the reverse sweep happen.
And rightfully so. They're coming off a major upset. I mean, if they could beat the team they beat last week, they can certainly pull off a reverse sweep.
Yeah, I mean, definitely going to be an interesting game to have play out for us. Excited for everybody to get to watch it because there's going to be a lot of difference. The last games we just saw, pretty basic 5v5 teams going at it with each other. NC State showing their prowess in team fighting relative. Changing over to the dive comp this time, looking for a much more aggressive early game with Nautilus Samira. Should have pretty, I would say, even all in compared to Lucian Nami, but definitely not even on normal trades, as Nami E is very potent, especially if the Nami ends up going something like Electrocute or Airy for the extra damage.
Interested to see the mid lane matchup here if Tristana can somehow find openings in the Annie passive.
I feel like it's a hard one, as Annie traditionally long auto attack range due to some buffs last season, so can do short little poke trades, although meaningless after Tristana gets lifesteal. And then Annie E, if you put any extra point into that, essentially being a Thornmail early game, Tristana with no natural heal up or anything can essentially end up with good trades as long as Annie can EWQ and then after 6 just all in the Tristana.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be a really spicy 2v2 bot. Samira Nautilus and Lucian Nami both really, really love to fight. I think the level 1 for Lucian Nami is probably weaker. I think they have a stronger level 2, but then at level 3 it swings back into the favor of Georgia Tech bot lane. So there's going to be a lot of back and forth in the bot lane. I really am going to try and keep the camera down there so we can see the action. I think it'll be a lot more fun than the lanes we've seen so far. However, Reddit Queen has been doing a really good job of making those lane phases fun with the Thresh. Hitting every hook has helped to spice it up a lot.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting bot lane to play out. Just based off Pat's strength, Lucian Nami traditionally a little bit more valuable, and going to come down a lot of to the execution of trades. If Lucian can just get his E auto Q auto out there with Nami E going off, I mean, it's just going to be a straight trade win. But if in any of that Jason happens to get hit by a stray Nautilus Q or Nautilus ult in that, or if Nautilus just flash autos just to get the passive proc for Samira, it's going to be a lot harder. But yeah, just waiting to get into game for us.
Yep.
Really excited to see Bob Timer dip back on Gragas. He was so good that first game on pick.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a really fun one to watch, especially paired with the Cassante playmaking. They're going to be able to stack on top of Samir or Tristana. As Samir W does not have any way to stop the Cassante or Gragas damage, being only able to stop Lucian Otto's anti-Q. Overall, not a great wind wall to have here in this game.
Yeah. Yeah, Samir's going to have a bit of a rough time, but like you said, this dive comp is fully oriented. Everyone can get in there, and she can follow up after everything's been won.
Yeah, Georgia Tech decided that their adaptation they wanted was all gas, no brakes. I mean, it's everybody smash our buttons and hope that the carries die. Looking for a 5 top invade.
5 top.
Ooh, interesting.
Georgia Tech hating this Bob Timer guy. They want to take him out early. They might be able to.
I like this adaptation, although Bob Timer seemed to just stop right here at the jungle, not pushing up to try to get that tri-bush vision as some would. As we said, NC State's just been doing these traditional level ones, everybody marking each entrance to the jungle.
Oh, but Georgia Tech walking down. Cassante
Malphite.
might walk up to the Malphite, possibly.
I was going to say, Malphite being so far ahead of that is a little bit of a signal you would think in a traditional 5v5 like this, especially in the collegiate setting, that might give it away a little bit. I would have liked better if they had all just hugged the wall left side and walked up to try to catch him out and burn a flash level 1, but...
Yeah, especially with a dredge line from Nautilus, even if it misses, you can pull out his flash, and you could play top lane, but it looks like Lee Sin's going to start red path bot anywho for the 3rd game in a row. And,
Yeah,
I mean, you picked Malphite. You're probably not going to gank him too often as Lahia gets a really good ward down.
Yeah,
And
I definitely...
Spots out. Gragas seeming to path top here, really interesting.
Yeah, both Gragas pathing here a little different, looking for the red early, but yeah, as you said, a little strange, still looking to path towards bot, being Lee Sin going to be level 3 going there, as we were hoping some emphasis on top side, but that Malphite level 1 really having no pressure over the Cassante.
Yeah. Redoquin stepping up as you should, level 1, juking the dredge line. Lucian Q able to come out, hit the Nautilus, and just a really positive trade here for the NC State bot lane.
Yeah, I like the activity coming out from Nazar, trying to get the hook on Nami, but she was marking on that minion to make it hard, and as soon as the minion dives moving left, not expecting the juke, hitting a minion, and then ending up taking a bad trade.
Interesting here from the Samira to opt Dorn's Blade 1 pot into a Lucian Nami. You know you're going to be trading a lot. Those pots would be an optimal purchase. Lee Sin visiting bot lane, not able to draw out any sums. Bob Timer getting a grass proc off here top lane. As we see, Tristana was getting aggressive there. It looks like she's going to want to punish this Annie time and time again as she uses her stun on a minion. But Lee Sin only did 1 camp before sprinting at bot lane. He's going to be really, really behind in CS and tempo. As we see Gragas is bot lane, he gets his reset off really quick. He's able to pick up a Dark Seal on his first back. Might be able to get a couple quick stacks on that and turn the tides quickly.
Yeah, I think Lee Sin might just be looking for a 3-camp bot here. There is a ward in the river for NC State to spot it out, but it'll be hard to play against like Nautilus just flash autoing you, but Lee Sin is clearing back up to Wolves first, so it looks like Georgia's Tech is saying there's no play down here to be made.
Yeah, which is probably the right call. NC State able to set up a freeze here, it looks like, canceling Georgia Tech's recall. Lee Sin could be coming bot to come help break it, but it looks like he will be walking to Scuttle. Could look for a play here mid for any resets, but not quite.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a pretty calm moment here as they just look to farm up for a second. Not really great kill pressure out of a level 3 Annie onto the Tristana, unless every single spell connects after a few trades. And a lot of the damage being rooted in Samira W not eating all the Lucian autos that contain the Nami abilities. Good trade here out of Bob Timer, getting the Malphite pushback should be a pretty positive trade, although losing a lot of move speed there from the Malphite Q, unable to get any more autos off.
Another grass pop coming out here, trade. Bob Timer showing really, really good Cassante gameplay here. Sounds kind of like an oxymoron.
The champion with no punishments.
Big wave is going to be coming in for NC State, but Lee Sin is top, so there's not really any pressure. I feel like they should be able to crash this 2v2 without too much issue, but Lee Sin is topside.
Here, yeah. He looks like they might be able to get the first blood here onto Bob Timer
Nice
as
ward
he
hop.
misses his Q. Yeah, good warp hop into E. Misses his Q as well. If Bob
good
Timer is
juke on
able
Bob
to
Timer.
survive the next one, yeah, and he gets out. Really good movement from Bob Timer. NC State crashes the wave bot side, allowing Jason to recall, go get his pickaxe, and that's just, as we see Jason's build, he knew what this lane was going to present, so he has 5 health restoration items. I mean, they can look for trade and trade again as Annie procs her electrocute here on the Tristana for tons of damage. And Jason loses no waves with perfect timed recall, or no minions with a perfectly timed recall, perhaps.
Yeah,
Electrocute, I think a good choice here as Annie into Tristana is traditionally you would go first proc when picking Annie into something like Gragas so that you can get the free gold, and then late game just the big burst damage, but into Tristana she's going to be able to get rid of that Electrocute, outranging you most of the game.
Yeah, Lee Sin Q goes wide on the visit mid lane. -1 there for Gone.
yeah. A really big thing is that Bob Timer can just stack armor this game, and I really don't think he's dying. The literal only magic damage on the side of Georgia Tech is Malphite and Nautilus, and I guess
Yeah, I
Lee Sin E, but it's going to be
Yeah,
really hard
Tristana
for it to die.
R maybe, yeah. It's they're thin in the magic damage department. Bob Timer diff going in really aggressively. Bob Timer himself flashing in R and Q for the auto finish onto the Tristana mid. First blood goes over to NC State.
A really good
Gold
roam
onto
timing out of Bob Timer.
Yep. The play was aggressive, but works out perfectly.
Yeah, and when you're
He is gonna
laning,
miss a wave though.
yeah, but I was about to say when you're laning against a champion like Malphite, you're like, sure, bro, take a wave and take a plate. I don't really care. If this was a Jace or a Kennen or a Gwen, I would be a lot more worried about letting Iron Tissue just hit the tower for free here, but Bob Timer knows it's a tank versus tank matchup, and as Cassante, as long as he gets armor items this game, he's going to be more than happy, and Malphite getting a plate is not really going to change how Malphite plays this game and how much impact he can have, so Bob Timer says, it's fine, I'll drop a few minions and I'll go mid.
Georgia Tech picking up the Chemtech Drake here as NC State just keeps farming away, playing towards their goal, which seems to be just funneling gold into the carries. Really good trade there for Malphite. As Bob Timer whiffs the Q.
Want to see how close to level 6 the junglers are, because that's when a lot is going to be unlocked on the map. So Bob Timer diff should hit it off of this camp, whereas Aqua is Yummy will not have it on this camp. He's going to need wolves as well. So Bob Timer diff is going to be the first one to impact bot lane, but the wave is under Georgia Tech's tower, so there might not really be a play.
Yeah, and it looks like they have a ward to snuff this out. Bob Timer really looking to bully him here under tower.
Oh,
Judge
good
line
bait.
coming out, hitting Jason, but as Gragas is there, they fall off the engage.
Yeah, it's a good bait from Jason to get hit by the hook. I'm like 90% sure he just let it hit on purpose, but Bob Timer diff was not able to get the E through the wave. Oh, kick flash.
Oh, kick flash there from Lee Sin. And they secure the kill onto Bob Timer diff. R coming out from Annie, not enough damage to finish it off, but Lethal Tempo does not proc in time for La. He had to get the kill on Gone as Electrocute, and the QW damage was far too much.
Yeah.
I feel like that counter engage out of the Tristana was a little questionable there. I think as soon as you're unstunned, you just W out, because after Annie E going off, those autos are just not going to do as much as you would like. And I mean, Annie Q on about a 3-second cooldown now, having 4 points into it.
Yeah, and Gone able to pick up a plate here. No threat from the Lee Sin, as if he Qs in, he just gets immediately one shot. Really strong play here from the NC State mid lanes in all 3 games.
I do like the adaptation so far, like we said, a little bit more aggressive in the bot lane from Georgia Tech, getting a couple dredge lines off and actually netting themselves a kill so far, although it went onto the Nautilus and it was under tower due to Gragas, but...
Yeah, and they've lost a couple waves off tempo here to the Samira, so it's going to be hard to keep up if they keep losing these waves, they're going to need more plays like that from Nautilus Samira.
Yeah, I mean, something troublesome for Georgia Tech is the fact that mid lane and bot lane have matchups that they opted into. You know, they saw Lucian Nami, they picked the Samira Nautilus into it. They saw the Annie, I believe, and they did pick Tristana into it. Or at least they opted to let it go mid instead of bot. Anyways, the issue is that both of these lanes are down 30, 40 CS. They are so far behind that even though the kill difference is only 1, there is a gold difference of nearly 2k. So NC State is so far ahead simply off of better laning and better jungle pressure. They're just finding these advantages in waves in CS, and they're so far ahead.
Certainly. As we see that Georgia Tech making some moves to get deep vision in this bottom jungle for NC State. Dredge line coming out, goes wide. As Bob Timer Diff not going to let this go unpunished as he goes to start counter jungling the Georgia Tech top side. Jason flash out. Tidal Caller's Blessing goes on to the Lucian. Nothing to be seen. Maybe could have held his flash. Tidal Wave coming out from the Nami.
Tidal Wave here just looking to sort of slow down Georgia Tech, keep them around long enough for the Gragas to come in, or just to sort of interrupt them able to get any more turret plates, sort of just keeping the slow start.
Grasp trades on top lane as Bob Timer and Malphite go crazy. Bob Timer Diff pulling in. Body slam into the Dark Harvest proc, flashing the Q as Iron Tissue. He gets out alive. But they might keep looking here under the tower. Yeah. Popping the rift that they got earlier. Gragas really hard to survive a dive against.
Oh, he should have kept tanking.
He drops tanking though, and the all out gets Cassante killed as a bot side dive works to success, getting a kill onto the Samira. Tristana coming in, gonna be able to get a kill onto Bob Timer Diff as her E was fully popped, giving her the reset on W. Annie's here to follow up. It is a fiesta all over the map.
I think that was a very significant misplay from Bob Timer Diff. I'm not sure if this is just a communication issue where they're saying, just wait a bit and we will redive, but I think dropping tower aggro, yeah.
Dropping the tanking there is very bad. He needed to hold it for at least another 1, maybe 2 tower shots while the Cassante continues to hit.
Yeah, because when Cassante R's, he loses health.
Yes, loses health, loses resist.
I think he was trying to predict an instant Malphite R, but it didn't end up coming out as he was CC'd for the whole duration, being Cassante R and the normal bit.
And here we see the bot wave dive. They don't have a significant wave, but the Nautilus R comes out, hits the Nami, Inferno trigger for the double almost if Nautilus Ignite did not steal it. Nautilus tanking, he goes down, giving a kill over to Jason. Really good start here from Georgia Tech, still down in gold, however, due to that farm difference. Bob Timer and his teammates able to pick up a kill on Iron Tissue here, and that's significant because the Dragon is up. It looks like NC State's going to be able to get this second Dragon, which is very important.
I mean, good game state in general for Georgia Tech before Iron Tissue went down there. I think they have been keeping up in the early game so far. I really, really like the fact that they went for a cross-map play. When they see Bob Timer Diff commit to the topside play, they know they have number advantage bot side. So they say, no, guys, let's just do it. Let's all press our R button on our keyboard and let's just send it bot lane. So I really like to see the cross-map play coming out from them. But Iron Tissue falling in the mid lane means that they do lose the Drake, even though they have some really strong skirmish on the bot side. We do see Jason is on Kraken Slayer. Bob Timer Diff is on Night Harvester.
And popping the R stun onto Lahia, not able to get the kill. Just no sums used. Nautilus R going on to Jason, nothing gonna happen. Lee Sin Ward Hop, WQ onto Gon, not enough damage. Pops the Smite as well. They're hanging in there. Georgia Tech certainly trying to make plays around the map. Much stronger performance this game than the last 2 games so far.
Yeah, I mean, this looks a lot better than it did the last few games. I think it's looking a lot better.
And that's the draft. I mean, certainly a lot of credit has to go to their draft difference this game.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that is still sort of downward note is that, I mean, they're still losing out in CS across multiple
Yeah.
lanes, which means that the gold difference is still swinging towards NC State. I mean, as you can see, even in the bot lane, Samira 102 has 2 assists on it. They've had successful dives, kept Lucian out of XP, but she's still down an item due to the deviation into a serrated Dirk. But
Yeah.
of course, Lucian getting an equally gold valued item through the boots.
Interesting to note that he went Kraken Slayer here. I understand you need a tank killer, but seems to me like a Gale Force would be your ideal item, but
I don't know. I kind of like the Kraken Slave here. Due to Nautilus going to be just building full tank essentially on top of the Malphite, and Cassante. I mean, he does good tank damage, but you're going to really want him to be on probably the Tristan or the Samira, as they can't win wall or jump out of Cassante, and he's so sticky.
yeah.
And Gale Force not the most reliable tool to get out of a Malphite ult combined with Lucian.
Certainly not. As we see Tristana hopping over the wall to pop a fully charged bomb. Tidal Wave knocking back the Lee Sin, but knocking him out of the Bobtimer Diff body slam on Gragas. Lee Sin landing the Q. Heal comes out from the Nami. Not enough to save Bobtimer Diff as Georgia Tech picks up another kill.
And there was a solo kill in the top lane. We'll go back and watch that once we make sure there's nothing else happening.
And front on trigger pops flash.
Really well
Glory
played.
onto Jason. Really, yeah, extremely well played from Glory here. His strongest performance yet. He's sitting on a serrated Dirk and an Immortal Shield bow. It's going to be tough to kill him this game as we go back to watch this solo kill topside. Bobtimer's been doing this all game where he just bullies him in this freeze area of top lane. And this time he's able to land 3-4 Qs. Pops the all out.
Ooh!
Really good movement from Bobtimer there, being able to bait and juke out the Malphite ult.
Very crispy from Bobtimer. I like it.
If Bobtimer has
Bobtimer
one
diff?
fan, it's me.
For real.
Bobtimer has 100 fans. It's me.
And yeah, again, really nice play from Glory to follow Jason's flash with the Inferno trigger and pick up the kill. And then he gets the E reset to get back out. Really well played.
Yeah, the Samira pick, what they've been lacking the whole time is we see another Nautilus R going on here. We see Samira dash in, and the W is able to secure the kill, but not before she goes down to the Annie. Cassante teleporting in as well. Looks like he's going to be able to get the kill on the Nautilus if nothing else happens. Oh,
Gives it over
Tibbers!
to the Annies as well through Tibbers being able to melt it down, which is a really good thing here.
Yeah, really, really good here. Bobtimer is showing a lot of strength out here, landing that Q onto the Lee Sin, knocking him back into the team.
And I mean, this is what we mentioned earlier. Like, once Bobtimer has like 2 armor items, he does not die. Just straight up. Like,
Yeah.
Malphite does not have the damage to kill him. And aside from Malphite, it's all physical damage on Georgia Tech's side.
NC State able to get their second tower of the game, really opening it up. And once again, like we've said, Dragons coming up in a little bit, and getting that first tower mid lane is so important. It allows you to really control river vision. Georgia Tech posturing here to go take the Rift Herald, which they are doing. Like we said, they're playing much more towards the top half of the map this game. Looking very similar to how NC State played their first game.
So with Dragon coming up, the flashes are very important things to look at. So Samira, no flash. Nautilus, no flash. But on the side of NC State, no flash on Lucian, Annie, or Cassante. So there are more summoners on the side of Georgia Tech. And as you guys mentioned, Lucian has a Kraken Slayer. So without the flash, without a Gale Force, he has realistically no good method at escaping the Malphite ult. Especially with flash being available, it should be super easy for him to access a Lucian. And the same thing goes for the Annie, who has no mobility built into her kit. So Malphite has 2 really, really good targets to find with the Unstoppable Force, and Nautilus can combo on top of that. But NC State is first to the touch.
Bobtimer diff mistiming his Q barrel charge on Dragon. Going to be interesting to note if that makes any impact. As Bobtimer tries to zone out Iron Tissue here, it looks like he will be able to do it successfully. Georgia Tech looks like they're posturing up, not quite. Really good tidal wave from Nami here to block off the entrance, and NC State's able to secure their second Dragon of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would have liked to see Georgia Tech just kind of send it. You know, like
Yeah,
earlier in the
yeah.
game, Lucian had Kraken Slayer and Gragas had Night Harvester, but Lee Sin and Samira were neither of them on their mythics. But at this timer, Samira has Shield Bow and a Dirk. Lee Sin has his Gore Drinker. I think that was their chance to fight, honestly. Like, they are
100%.
on their spikes. They're pretty much even in gold on their carries, so I think that was their time. And I really would have liked to see them just full engage.
And you have 3 people in the pit, maybe an opportunity.
Yep,
for
no
the Malphite
flashes
to get
either.
A really fat ult. They're gonna drop the Rift Herald here. The Rift Herald gonna take the first tower. They kind of had to, I suppose, with the timing of Rift, but I don't think that's how they really wanted to use it. I think they wanted to use it just a couple plays before, right, and get the dragon pressure.
Yep. So,
I mean, they had a really big win when they got that Rift Herald, but a misplay loses them the first Cloud Drake of the game.
yeah, I
Which
think, like...
Cloud Drake is going to be so important for this game. A Cloud Soul for
Definitely.
Georgia Tech, are you kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a win con.
Yep. I think Georgia Tech is playing, like... I want to say, like, a bit too respectfully. I think
Yeah.
they're just scared of opting into a team fight, but if they... I'm not sure if they have those timers on Lucian and Annie Flash, but if you know 2 carries on the enemy team do not have Flash, and you have Malphite ult, and Malphite
Nautilus
Flash,
R.
and Nautilus R, I think you should just send it, especially like you said, they're standing in the pit. Annie literally has no way to escape the pit. Lucian has his dash, and that's it. So I think you just send it.
Yeah, you kind of have to. But we'll see. They're adapting well. Let's see if they adapt once more and fix that issue within this game. You see, Tristana actually has demolished this game. That allowed her to take the top tower here for Georgia Tech. And she's heading bot side. We got a 3 before her top. Dredgeline able to hit the Bob timer.
He
Bob
doesn't
Timer,
take damage.
The tankiest man on planet Earth. Unstoppable Force, not able to do much, and now it looks like Iron Tissue might be in a little bit of trouble. The Barrel able to zone out everyone. Bob Timer has a charge Q, knocks him up. Tidal Wave, flash out from from Malphite, not able to do much as the Lee Sin kick wasn't effective. Flash cleanse on the exhaust there from Samira, and it looks like NC State's going to rotate here Baron.
Yeah, it's not the right timer, and it's not the right angle. Like, NC State is set up in the river with Cassante. Look at his items and tell me who is killing him right now. Like, we should not be flashing onto the Cassante and the Gragas. We should be flash Malphite ulting the Annie stuck in the pit. So I think just Georgia Tech recognized they needed to do something, but they came to that realization too late.
Yeah, and so we see Gon sitting over the wall, was trying to peek out. Any pick he get on Glory, he does. Lee Sin lands the Q. Is he going to take it? He kind of has to. Oh, he gets all out ulted from Bob Timer, and he's going to go down for it. The kill goes on to Jason. Jason picking up 2 kills here in back-to-back succession. Interesting to note here that the demolished Tristana is running rampant bot lane. Bob Timer is doing ridiculous damage for someone as tanky as he is. He might be able to pick up double kill here. He will be able to.
Oh my gosh.
This champion looks really fair and balanced.
He's going all out.
Player. Yeah, he's going all out.
I mean, who kills him? I know it's annoying because I keep saying it, but realistically, like, you cannot, you just cannot pick Tristana, Samira, Lee Sin, and then have your last pick be a Malphite. It's not going to work out.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the one way that anybody kills is waiting until both Samir and Tristana have the main armor pen out of being Lord Dom's or the anti-heal armor pen, and most of it's going to be rooted in the Tristana since she has the Kraken Slayer and has the ability even possibly to build a Bork late game, although not optimal.
Yeah, it will be on Tristana. Samira's not like a tank buster in any way, but we see Tristana went for the early Hex Drinker, which makes sense when you're against AP mid jungle. I like that purchase, but we see
really
him
going
going
efficient to not finish it, and
yeah,
you know,
and now he's
especially
going
in
for the
stage right
BT. He's going for BT now, which is really like defensive. But when you're this behind, you can't be defensive. You need as much damage as you can so you can actually kill something.
Yeah, and BT is not going to allow you to kill Bob Timer any quicker. Certainly not.
Yeah.
Which is why they're winning right now.
Yeah, I mean, NC State is in a really good spot. They have Dragon coming up in 10 seconds. Oh.
Unstoppable Force. Huge pick onto the Nami. Inferno Trigger going off. Bob Timer is still alive after standing in the enemy team for 5 seconds. Cask splits up Georgia Tech. Huge cask from Gragas. they're able to follow through. Jason, Annie both picking up kills. Demolish proc here going off on the tower with Baron Minion. NC State getting that tier 2. Tiberi's running under the tower to proc or to bother that NC or Georgia Tech team a little bit more. NC State going to keep pushing on here, hoping to continue that trend of a 20-minute inhibitor tower in all games. Good TP here from Bob Timer to ensure that happens. And this time they are going to take that inhibitor since they're 23 minutes into the game. No reason
I
to
like
leave
this
it up.
take.
Yeah, really, really strong take. Bob Timer has no way to go over the wall. Helped out by a teammate. And now they rotate bot here. Baron buff is still active. Looks like they're going to be able to take this tower too and get really valuable deep vision.
I really like this. Like, important to note from State is a lot of the time when you have Baron and Dragon comes up after you win a fight, you're like, okay, we need to go take the Dragon right now before they come off of spawn and leave their base. But if you have Nash and you're this ahead, there's not really like a timer for you. You know, like you saw State, they were very confident to just walk bot lane with that wave, take the inner tower. As we saw, they got the inhib first. So they had time to sort of, you know, just take their time with Nash and get more stuff on the map and really make Georgia Tech feel like they're choked out of this game.
Yeah, and it just goes back to what you said earlier. I mean, Georgia Tech is just not taking their windows of opportunity, and then they're forcing it, you know?
Yep. It was a decent look onto the Nami, and I think it was a glimpse of what could have been earlier in the game if they found like the Malphite Nautilus ult onto Lucian or Annie.
Yeah.
Because we saw Nami just got deleted from Samira. Like, it's exactly what Glory wants in a fight. Just jumping in on top of the NC State squishies and one-shotting them and getting those resets. But Georgia Tech just missed out on the very crucial timers they had in the early mid-game and late game. Trying to go onto Bob Timer is just not going to do it this game.
Yeah, especially when there's so much damage on this NC State side. Unstoppable force onto the Annie. Annie dropping Tibbers. Gets kicked. Flashes? She might be able to pick up the kill.
Oh, no.
She does not. Shut down on the
Tibbers is angry.
Running. Yep. Tibbers picks up the kill. 1-for-1. As NC State, still with the Demolish proc from Bob Timer, picks up the tower. No way at all for Georgia Tech to, you know, challenge this, especially since their initiation was topside.
Yep. I mean,
both of their initiations, you know, stronger ones at least.
All of their engage was top. It's a decent idea if you know, like, you will never be able to win the 5v5. You're just going to say, screw it. Let's go on the side lane. Try and collect the shutdown on Annie. I really like the plan. It is very unfortunate that Gon was able to trade back 1-for-1 in the 2v1 situation, but as far as the idea goes from Georgia Tech, I like it. It's a really good idea to do a cross map. Just drop the inhib, try and turtle a bit, but we're going to see if NC State can close out the game before Georgia Tech can farm up these inhibs, because we see Nash spawning in 1 minute, flashes up for Jason, flashes up for Nami. It's up for the Gragas. That's the main one I'm looking at this fight, is where Bob Timer Diff can find the engage.
Yeah, and it's not like there's going to be a lack of opportunity. I mean, this NC State comp creates so much space for him to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Then Nami tidal waves have been on point this game. And I hate to say it, but Georgia Tech is playing scared obviously Bob Timer is, and he's under tower hitting the Tristana. Tristana proc lethal tempo. She might be able to get a few valuable hits off here, but nothing crazy as this top tier 2 tower is going to fall. Georgia Tech's base is looking thin. Jason fires out that coaling for a little bit of extra damage. Bob Timer going absolutely beast mode. Looking on the Nautilus here. Nautilus flashes.
Oh, there it is.
Huge flash cask from flash cast body slam. Redukin picking up the kill via Jason's auto attack. 4-man R here from Iron Tissue. Doesn't matter. Bob Timer is actually soloing their backline. And the Nami bubble hits. Bob Timer goes 6-1 on his signature Cassante. And it looks like NC State is going to triple crown, clear out the game.
Yep, just beautiful game, beautiful series from NC State. Predicted it coming in.
Front to back.
Yep, clean 3-0 from NC State. Really looking awesome. Even game 1 with a substitute mid laner, they just look so clean. They look consistent.
Yeah.
all of these games, they had a game plan and they executed it flawlessly. So really great
Interesting,
series.
yeah. Interesting to know as NC State tries to make a bracket run that Vespa, the #1 seed, it just got upset by University of Florida. They're
Oh,
down
really?
2-0, looking like Vespa might lose, and that Florida is the Florida has won. It looks like Vespa FF'd, as it says on the playoff chart, that it's just a 2-0. So
Wow.
that means #8 seed Florida playing #5 seed NC State in the bracket run here.
Okay. Well, then tune in next week for another 3-0. I mean, everyone was fully expecting Vespa to win. They're what I think, like, are they not #1 seed in the South, I think?
They are #1 seed in the South. Yeah, they're ahead of UST.
So NC State gets a much better matchup for next week. And if they keep up this current form, I can see them taking another really easy 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, this will be their highest regional finishing in, what, 4 years now? 3 years since the LA team. So
Yeah.
really, really, really strong stuff from NC State.
Yeah. Well, awesome set from State. Really clean games, really clean execution. Good game, Georgia Tech. Thank you for coming out. And thank you to my co-casters for letting me join today, even though I am not NC State. I appreciate the chance to cast for my boys.
Sir, thank you guys for coming to the stream. Please tune in next week, as those games should be a lot better. Hopefully still a 3-0, but a little bit closer. And just like Romy said, thank you, Georgia Tech. This was an amazing set. Really fun to watch them play. That third game was a great adaptation from them. So thank you guys all for coming out.